It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a lovely day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Please won't you be my neighbor? Did you know that our neighborhood has a train that goes by right on the other side of this fence? We also have planes that fly overhead on the way to 3 different airports. And we have a canal just the side of our neighborhood. I'm wearing my railroad cap today because we're going to be talking about trains and trucks and planes and pipelines and ships. We're going to talk about transportation or distribution channels of how products end up in the final hands and get to the consumers that we need them to have. We're going to talk for a moment or two about the 4 Ps. Again, the 4 Ps of marketing are product, price, promotion, and then finally, place. The place of our 4 Ps deals with transportation issues and how we get the products that we've produced to the final end consumer that are going to use them. We need to remember that we have to be very efficient and effective in our place or our transportation systems. We need to keep the costs low in order for our profits to be higher. Did you know that 11% on an average of everything that we spend on products goes toward the cost of delivery or the cost of placement of a product to the end consumer? We also need to make sure that we efficiently manage our transportation and our distribution channels so that our products arrive timely and safely. With the exception of products that are delivered over the internet, which are called information products, all of the other physical products need to be delivered somehow. And those delivery methods usually come over one of 3 pathways: over land, through the air, or waterways. Air, land, and waterways make up the pathways that we usually receive all products. They have their disadvantages and their own each specific advantages, and we'll talk about those in a moment or two. Essentially, there are 5 different distribution methods or transportation methods that are used: trucking, freight over trains and railroads. We have pipelines, we have boats or ships, and then finally there's air transportation, or what's called cargo. If you looked at the entire pie of transportation, what do you think represents the biggest slice of the pie in terms of a method of transportation? Did you say trucking? Well, you're right. Trucking, either over the highways or the freeways, or here in our cities and towns locally, represents 70% of the distribution method of our products getting to the end consumer. That's a big slice of that pie. 15% is followed by the trains and the freight that goes over the railroads. 10% over pipelines, 5% over waterways, boats, ships, and then less than 1% travels to us, to the end consumer, by air freight or cargo. Trucks, by and large, are much more flexible. We can deliver to many more places with trucking. Trucking also allows the advantage of being able to deliver more efficiently over short distances than some of the other methods. It's a little more expensive because of the cost of fuel and the cost of human resources. Did you know that in most states, in fact almost all states in the United States, that the position or job of truck driver is the largest job that there is in every state? That's not surprising, considering 70% of all of our products are distributed by trucking. Rails or trains, they deliver 15% of our products. And those are usually the high bulk products, the grains and the sugars and fuels and fluids in some certain regards, but also the heavy and bulky items. Right here in our neighborhood, we will have train cars go by that will be holding 10 or 12 automobiles within each car. And there'll be lots of train cars go by taking these vehicles from their manufacturing, maybe in Detroit or some other part of the country, to Los Angeles, to California, where a lot of those automobiles will need to be sold and used by the ultimate consumer. Pipelines, surprisingly, deliver 10% of the products that we use in the United States. That could be fuels or liquids like gasoline or oils going to the refineries or to the delivery stations in each of our cities, or it could be natural gases or other gases that travel by pipeline. But 10% is a large percentage that travels by these pipelines. The advantage of the pipelines, they're very efficient. There's always a supply being delivered, and it's very rare that they're interrupted by anything, much less by bad weather. Shipping or transportation by boat represents 5% of the products that are delivered to the consumer. That represents shipping over oceans or over the lakes, like the Great Lakes area, down rivers like the Ohio or Columbia or the Great Mississippi, or even smaller waterways like canals. What we need to remember about boats is they're slower. Transportation by ships or shipping by ships is very inexpensive compared to other methods of transportation. Speaking of expense, then, finally we look at the airlines or distribution by the airplanes that travel above us. Less than 1% of our products are distributed by air. And usually those products are going to be smaller items or lightweight items. But specifically, they need to be items that positively, absolutely should be delivered today or tomorrow. The advantage of air travel and air freight is that it's very quick, but it's also the most expensive transportation that we have. Thank you for joining me in my neighborhood. I hope that you've learned more about how we transport our goods to the ultimate consumers. And I'd like you to keep your ears open and listen carefully as you hear the trains delivering products to the consumers in our hometown.